Hi guys, today we have a fun video. I was at work this week, and at work we do tree removals, tree trimmings, and we also do firewood. So I was in the scrap pile of firewood, and I came across this piece. Now this is a piece of pommetier. It's like a type of little fruit tree that we have here in residential areas, and I wanted to challenge myself in trying to get as much stuff as I could out of this block. So that's going to be today's video. I'm going to be cutting it up, and I'm going to try and get as many blanks as I can out of it, and I'll be turning some in my future videos. So that's what we're going to start with today. So I already cut a sliver off. So as you can see, so this is what it looked like before, and I took this off. Now we see the interior wood. So it's pretty cold, but I know this is dry because this was cut about 1.5 years ago. So if we're looking, we have a split here, so we can't do any. I'll do it with a Sharpie. So we have a split here and some splits here radiating like that. So that's not a safe area. All this is clear. Now my plan is to first true this up so I can have a flat surface to cut on. So true this up. Once this is trued up, I'm going to cut a sliver off here to better see, but to my initial thought is that there's a split here. So I think that in any case, this piece is going to end up being split into two. So my thoughts at the moment are I'm going to get a plate here, some sort of dish, and here I'll have enough for maybe a small bowl. This piece is probably more than so it's 7 inches and stuff. So I want to get, so I can cut it like this on the band. So I need to get it down to about 6 3/4. So I need to take off a sliver here. But first I need to make this flat. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to be chopping this up. So I'm going to go do that on the bandsaw as we speak. So I cut this flat, so this is all clear. So that's really good. So it looks like applewood, but it's not. It doesn't smell like applewood. But this is dry, and it is going to be hardwood, so that's nice. What is this? So I have a split here. So this is a bark enclosure. That's all here. So that probably means that this whole section, and if you look at the log, it goes all the way to here. So my theory is this is one slab that if I really forced it, this whole thing would just come flying off, which is not good because that compromises this side, unfortunately. But I think the safest course of action, because now this is the thing with cutting up these pieces of wood, and as you cut up pieces, you kind of get a hang of it. Actually, if you will watch Richard Raffin's videos on how to do this kind of stuff, they're very, very, very helpful. But there's many things like this could be just a small bark enclosure, but it could also be from here to here, and it starts there, and it kind of weevils its way up like that, and that's not strong. So as soon as you put it on the lathe, yes, now just by hand, I'm not able to split it. But when you're turning at 2,000 RPM or 1,000 RPM, that can get really loose really quickly. And it doesn't take much to go flying. And one piece that goes flying that quickly is never fun. So you kind of want to avoid it at all cost. But another thing, this split here, you can see that it's not here. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm just going to wedge it out, so then I don't have to worry about it. There you go. So then that I don't have to worry about because I've already compromised it. I don't know what, it's not applewood, that's for sure. Anyway, so you see, so that I couldn't have left there because that would have split open. So the question is, how compromised is this? So I think the best way to test this is to just cut a clean line across here and Hopefully it doesn't go in too far and I can get a nice dish or something out of here. But I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a very... I think the bulk of the work that we're going to have is going to be up here, and it's going to be a small dish out of here. But I might be wrong. But I don't want to risk it. And this can't just become one full bowl again, because I want to maximize the amount of stuff I can get out of it. So making one, how big would this be? That would be 7 inches, 7-inch bowl. Could be nice, but how thick is this? This is 5 inches. I think for a 7-inch bowl, the deepest for it to be proportionally sound should be 3.5 to 4, which is basically what I'll get from here, because I'll cut this like that. So I'll get a 7, actually, no, yeah, 7, because it's by 3 bowl out of it. So I think this is the bulk of the work. So I'm going to go cut this, and I'll come back and we'll see. So I'm back. So this is the slab piece. So I was partially right. So this is structurally sound. That connects to this. So that peels off. Now this, I feel, is more... yeah, I feel that's a lot more structurally sound. I'm going to cut this off square there, because even if I do make a plate, I don't need that, and that doesn't count. So I'm going to make this a square. And if we look at the other piece is clear. So there's a little bit of crap there, but at the end of the day, this is clear. So this is going to become one bowl. So I'm going to cut that like this. I'm going to cut this out just to be safe, because we don't want any big splits. And I'll make that flat here too. So I'll cut it like this, like that, and then I'll make a circle, and then that will be one blank. So let's do that. So I was right to be worried, because this is a huge bark enclosure. So you can see it goes from here all the way to here. So that's one loose piece. Now, why am I not as worried about this as I should be? Is because this is, as I said, 7 inches. This is square, so if I go 7 inches from there, I'm here. So I have, in a circle, I have lots of chances of missing most of that, especially since I know it goes from here to here. So it's going like this probably. So if my circle comes in like that, well, actually, let's draw our circle. So we want a 7-inch circle. Ah, that fell. This is perfectly clear. So that's just going to become a bowl. So that's perfect. So if I just go 7 inches, well, actually, we'll get the max diameter we can. It'll just be simpler that way. So like that. Like that. Move this way. There we go. And then just clear that. Boom, boom, boom. I wasn't too off, huh? That's why you never measure anything. You always do it by eye. At a certain point, your eye just gets so good at it, you could actually solely rely on it. So there we go. So my guess is, as I said, is that the bark enclosure goes from there to there like this. And because I'm going to cut round, I'm going to miss most of it. And even if I do miss most of it, when I'm going to be turning, it's going to come out anyway, so it's fine. Now this is probably the same. Yeah. And we could just move that a little bit. And There we go. So we'll cut these round. All right, so here we go, 2 blanks. Now you might say, Matthew, you took off a lot of material just to get these 2. Well, in reality, not really. And, you know, I could, well, that's not the same piece. Anyway, so basically the log was a little bit on this side, a little bit on that side. What you want to do is you don't want to always just take the log and put it straight on the lathe. By doing this kind of stuff and cutting it to see what the wood will let you have is better than just putting it on the lathe and saying, well, I want this and I want this size. If the wood won't allow you to have a certain size of bowl, you kind of have to take it because it's better than turning an unsafe blank. So as you can see here, I didn't miss it, but if I take my little spike, let me just, so if I put it in, and I pull that out, that's how deep it goes in. Now you might say that's a lot, but it's that deep, and I'm going to make this round. So chances are that's going to peel off with the lathe. And that's another thing is when you have cracks like this, you want to determine where you're going to put the hole. So I believe that this is closer to this side, right? So there's more chances of it getting out of the turning if I put my hole on this side and turn it this way, comparatively to turning that way and then having to deal with all this. Now, on the flip side, I also have this split here. Now, if I do it like that, both these splits could come out. So that's where the decision has to be made. But that's something that you can work with. If you're working with a piece that has a bark enclosure that goes from all the way through, don't turn it. For example, this bowl. This is a roughed out piece of ash. As you can see, I roughed this out. This is dry. This is ready to be returned. But as you can see, there's a split here, a split here, and that split comes all the way here. But if you look over here, there's another split. So probably this is all one split. And there's just this section of wood and this section of wood all the way to where the split ends on the other side is holding it all together. So it works now because this is what? Say 1/2 inch thick? Yeah, 1/2 inch to almost 3/4 of an inch thick. So it holds. But when I get this down to 5 millimeters, that's not going to hold. And this is going to blow apart. Now, because it's just layered over each other, there's no really way of gluing it. There's no way of getting CA in there. This, to me, is a bowl that is unsafe to turn. And it might work, and I'm not saying it won't, and I'm not saying people who would turn this are crazy. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, for me, this is unsafe. I much rather use it as a little bowl for my rags in my shop that I don't mind if I draw on it or if it falls or it gets dusty or dirty. I don't mind that. But I wouldn't try and turn this into a finished piece. There's too many risks of that split going all the way through, and when that holding wood fails, the whole thing splits in half. And having a bowl split in half is not fun. So, I think there's actually one on the channel that you could go watch, which is a small bowl, not a big bowl. So that's what I'm trying to say. So when you're doing stuff like this, it's really important to let the wood do what it can. I was thinking that this was going to be a much more compromise and I wouldn't be able to use it. Another thing I could do is very simply just pour CA in there. And then the CA is going to bind it all together and it's going to become hard. I could also do that. That's another option. But I would have been perfectly happy with just this. This is clear. There's no visible splits. There's some little splits here, but that will turn out. This is the best that you could have hoped for. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that this, I know you didn't see me use the bandsaw, but I feel like I was very clear on where I was cutting and how I was cutting. I don't have my tripod. to film the bandsaw, but I think that you kind of got the point across anyways. That's how I process this log. I suggest to take each log as not a challenge or a mystery or a case, but as not looking at a log that looks weird and say, oh, I'm going to make this out of it. Don't do that. Say, okay, I'm going to see what the log can get me, and then I'll figure out what I do. Like now I know this is going to be some sort of dish or plate. I could actually even make a little tray out of this. This is going to be a bowl. But if the wood wouldn't have allowed me to have any of that, or the bark inclusion went down the middle, then it would have been 2 spindle blanks. So you want to let the wood dictate what it will become, instead of forcing one piece and saying, with this piece, I want to make this thing. Because if you do that, you'll end up turning more and more unsafe stuff, which is what I did when I started up. Was I wanted to make bigger and bigger bowls, and I didn't have that many big pieces of wood or big slabs of wood, so I would kind of just say, this piece is 7 inches, hence that can make a 7-inch bowl, and then put it on the lathe, which is untrue. A 7-inch half log is not going to make a 7-inch bowl. It's probably going to make a 5, 6, 6.5 max bowl. So you kind of have to work with what the wood gives you. And I think that having a good bandsaw is perfect for this, because you can get these nice blanks. And now I know these are ready for turning. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll just say hi. Hi! Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a little bit about how to cut up blanks a little bit more. And stay tuned to the next 2 videos where we're going to be turning these into different things. So, as always, happy turning, and we'll see you next time.